Over the past year, Europe's industrial production has stopped growing and has even turned into reverse. We see this slowdown very clearly in Germany, where industrial production is down 8% compared to 2021, and we also see it in Italy with production down 6%. On the contrary, other big EU countries are faring better. France and Spain have slowed down but remain at 2021 levels, while Poland's industrial production is even 10% higher than it was 3 years ago. Yet, production is down. The reasons of the current slowdown are known. Russia's invasion of Ukraine and its curtailment of natural gas supplies to Europe have made gas and electricity prices rise to levels we had never seen before, even 6 or 7 times higher than normal at the peak of the crisis in 2022. As Europe scrambled to find alternative supplies, it was aided by 2 unexpectedly warm winters that made us save gas, and so prices have gone down, but they are still about double than before the crisis. What's worse is that they are currently more than 4 times the prices that you would find in the United States. So it's obvious that the industrial sector of EU countries is suffering a lot, in particular when we look at energy-intensive industries like steel, chemicals, paper, plastics, and so on. And of course, countries that rely the most on natural gas for their power generation, such as Germany and Italy, are suffering more than others. Meanwhile, there is a second trend that's affecting our industries: technological change in the face of the green transition. The shift towards electric vehicles is putting Europe's automotive industry under strain. Why? Some experts argue that Europe's car manufacturers are investing too little in car batteries and other technologies, and this makes them unable to bring down prices. But we also know that Chinese manufacturers have been heavily subsidized by the government. This mix of underinvestment in Europe and state support by Beijing means that today's Chinese companies are able to produce electric vehicles at a 25% discount compared to what we do in Europe. It's only normal that European car makers are suffering. So how do we get out from this situation? It's not an easy task, but let me make 2 comments. First, there is a rising temptation to protect our industries from outside competition. This is okay, especially when they have been affected by unfair competition from abroad. But we should always keep in mind that subsidies, especially if directed to industries that have a lower value added, slow down the industrial transition. They discourage investment towards the sectors and goods of the future to keep us tied to the past. We are an old continent, and subsidies, if not designed correctly, can send the wrong message. Second, Europe can't avoid to look at what the United States does, but it should also be wary of fighting trade wars, like the US is doing with China. If we raise tariffs to protect some of our sectors from Chinese goods, prices will go up, and consumers will suffer. Take solar panels. Today, producing a solar module in China costs half of what it costs in Europe. If we protect our solar modules industry, prices for everyone will rise, and our green transition will inevitably slow down. At the same time, Europe's exports depend more heavily on China than the United States exports do, and our continent GDP is much more dependent on exports than the United States. This means that any counter tariffs from China will hurt us even more. So Europe must reflect very carefully, is this what we want? Do we want to follow the United States down this path? Ultimately, it will all boil down to the kind of future we want. Whether we prefer to have traditional industries protected today or take a heavy hit today but have more incentive to invest in the technologies of the future. Some subsidies and new tariffs are going to be inevitable, but these tools should be used carefully, like Mario Draghi explained in his report on Europe's competitiveness, pointing out where and how much public investment Europe needs to recover the competitiveness it has lost. On today's globalized world, subsidies and trade tariffs cannot be used as a cure-all solution. Otherwise, in a constant search of more protection, we may inadvertently end up being poorer.